You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Want to earn some quick cash? Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston is stocking up on cute and cozy fall styles. We pay you on the spot for your gently used name brand clothes and accessories. Plus, while you're here, you can stock up on must-have looks for autumn. We're the go-to sustainable shopping spot for teens and young adults. So stop by Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston today and refresh your wardrobe. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
79. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 53 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a Tuesday edition of Inside the Locker Room. 205-342-9904 is the phone number if you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning. Our X accounts at Locker Room 109 at Barry Sanderson at Wim Sanderson 1. So go give each one of those a follow if you don't mind. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure treated pine from Great Southern. They always make this 7 o'clock hour possible. If you're going to build a 5-star backyard, the fence, the deck, the pergola, then you want to use Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find the dealer closest to you. And always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, you certainly don't want it. If you want to email us, you can do that at wimpandbarry@yahoo.com, and you can download that Tide 100.9 app to your smartphone. You can send us a message through the app, and you can take us with you anywhere you go. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys this morning?
We're okay. A couple of things for me. If you want to make them controversial before I re-give the scores that took place last night. The Otis kid, Oatis, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, Jaheim Otis, yes.
Wants to redshirt and leave. I think that's a really big precedent that we need to get stopped. I don't think that's good for football for guys to be able to be disappointed and tell you that they're going to leave it. So I would say to them, in order to get it stopped, okay, fine, you're off scholarship. With anything that we pay for you during the rest of this year that you're here, the semester that you're here, you pay for it. I would not let people, certain people, maybe you want to get rid of, and he may be one for all I know. But I would not let a precedent start where everybody on my team that got unhappy, 5 or 6 of them, said they're going to sit out because they're not playing much, and leave at the end of the year. I would put them off scholarship. I don't think any comment on that.
Well, I don't think you can once they start the semester. They have to be on for the semester. Here's the thing.
I don't think so.
Well, they once they start, they have to.
I understand that part of it, but there are other parts that come up.
Okay, so I agree with you, but I'm saying, like, if he says I'm not coming back to Alabama, I'll stay here. So when he does that, the problem is he can't practice, so he's just sitting over in the apartment now, not practicing or doing anything, which is not helping him develop as a football player. But if he sees the writing on the wall, if he went into the defensive coordinator's office and said, "Hey, coach, I'm going to work as hard as I can for you, but I would appreciate if you redshirt me. I'll be there for you on the scout team. I want to develop, but I'm going to leave at the semester."
Yeah. So you have five, now that starts, you have 5 or 6 of them do that. Baloney.
So if that's what he wants to do, or should he just keep it to himself and do it at the end of the semester?
Yeah, okay. But when you start a precedent like that and you have one after another doing that, you got real problems with your team. I don't care what you think. I understand that the scholarship has been paid for, but I think if you got to find something you can do penalty-wise, to try to cut this down, because this could lead to a lot of problems.
Well, I'm reading between the lines on what Kalen DeBoer said. I think the kid's been a problem. I think they've seen it coming, so they probably look at it as, I don't want him around here every day. Pay a scholarship out this semester and let him go.
Well, every time a guy does that, then that's what you do. I would agree. If he's a bad problem, and you're going to be a bad problem when you get mad about your playing time, because everybody that you call it back at home tells you should be playing. So I totally agree to that. I just think it could turn into a tough deal. Hey, I could be dead wrong. It may just be easy as pie. But once you start that, people doing it. I think it's.
I think he's afraid that they'll put him in the game more than 4 times and he'll lose his year. So if he's not there, then they can't. He don't want to put him in the game. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying that's probably how he's thinking.
Well, certainly it is. I'm not playing the game by his rules. I'm playing them by mine. Yeah. I'm not adhering to what he wants to do because he's leaving my program. That's just me. I wouldn't put up with it 5 minutes. On the Moore situation, you can decide what you think. I think it's okay. He apologized for wanting to be back on the team. There are things that happen in this life that when whatever answer you have, some people are going to be disgusted with it. And this could be one of them. Some people think you ought to suspend him. You're not tough enough if you don't suspend him. Some people think that this is the way to do it. So those are things that you're not going to please everybody. Should you have let Eli go, or should you have kept Eli go? Hard question, hard answer, tough time. Not sure what to do. Some people like that, some people don't. This same situation here, some people will call it in and like it, some people don't. They think it doesn't make you a hard-nosed guy. It affects the other team maybe to some extent if you don't do something right now. And some people don't. I think most of the time you think I would suspend him. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably try to just talk to him and get it straight. What your opinion on that?
Malachi Moore, I could go either. I mean, I don't know him personally as a kid. I don't know has he been a problem in the past. I don't know his background. I don't agree with people who say, well, they're happy he showed emotion. Well, you can't go kick the football when the guy spots it and when you don't come off the field. Like I'm not happy. I don't want anybody happy that they lost. I don't mind you being disgusted, but some of the things that he did, I think, and they're saying they're handling it internally, and it's Coach DeBoer's program. He's got to decide how to do that. I don't have to know what he's doing, but I would have suspended him at least for a half. But he chose not to, and that's his problem.
I don't think it matters. I think if you have problems like that, it affects your discipline. You certainly have to keep your discipline in losses. It's not real hard to keep your discipline, basically, unless they just go wild on you and wins. But it's very hard to keep your discipline with losses. On this particular case, I thought yesterday that I would suspend him when he came out with his complete line of thinking, which I think was wrong, but complete apology, which I think is probably wrong. But I would probably let that one go.
Yeah, I just when they start sending out these written out apologies that probably somebody else wrote, I'd rather the guy get in front of a microphone and say it so I can see it come out of his mouth. When they write it, they look at that thing. Those don't really. I mean, I think he is sincerely disappointed in himself for doing what he did, but those written out apologies. I
didn't know what it was. I was asleep, so I didn't know what it was.
It came out pretty right after our show. During Gary's show, it came out. So.
Kerry Carpenter hit a home run as a pinch hitter yesterday. Beat my Indians 3-0 in a 0-0 game up until the top of the ninth. Really costly for us because we've got to go to Detroit and play now, which is not easy. The Royals beat New York 4-2. The Mets and the Phillies will play today at a little after 4:08, and the Dodgers and Padres will play at 8 o'clock tonight. Last night, the Chiefs in New Orleans played, and the Chiefs won 26-13. It's really hard to judge quarterbacks for college coaches who are trying to select somebody. But Patrick Mahomes, whoever decided, and there were people who, I think, because of his size, he was quick and all that kind of stuff, but the people that decided on him as a quarterback certainly hit it right, and that sometimes that doesn't happen. So that's a big deal there, and of course the Chiefs continue to be good. In college football, Texas, Oklahoma will have the starting quarterback back for the Oklahoma game. Texas will be a big game in Dallas, as I told most of you. It's the game I got to see when I went out to Texas to school, and it's a big deal there at 19. I won't tell you what year. LSU and Ole Miss will play. I think this is the other really big game. All games are big because if you don't get ready to play, you get your fannies beat. But I think LSU and Ole Miss are big. LSU, I think, gets 3 points in this game. The only other thing I want to say to you, because I've had some friends that go through this storm is coming and may be coming into some of you guys who are listening to our shows, kinfolks, loved ones, something. This booger bear is turned into a 5, and it's going to be 175 miles an hour wind. I don't know if you have anybody down there that you care about or not, but don't let them be stupid enough to stay around, hang around, and be sure they get where they need to get the animals in, because this thing is. I just got to visiting with somebody that went through the other one, and it is an absolute wreck. So if you got loved ones down there, get off our cotton picking show and call them and try to warn them about this storm's coming up. That's about all I've got. We've got 6 conference games, which is 12 teams involved. And then we have 1 non-conference game for a total of 13 out of the 16 that are playing. I think all for A&M and Auburn and Arkansas. So Arkansas, of course, with a big win, and Vanderbilt with a big win. Vanderbilt's selling part of their goalpost for money. Arkansas and Vanderbilt have been fined for getting on the field, which is whatever, great or not great. So anyway, we welcome your calls. We'll have Coach on in the second hour, and Kevin Skarbitsky on at the bottom of the hour.
All right. We'll go ahead and take this break. We get back. There's something that's going on now with Alabama football that used to not happen. And so I've changed my mind about it. I'll tell you what it is, or when we get back from break. I used to not like it, but now I think I like it better. 2 Men in a Truck. They're out at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this smooth. I mean, whether it's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. They'll take great care of you and your stuff. Give them a call today for the free estimate, 205-247-5050. That is 2 Men in a Truck. Movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Tuesday morning, the body of a man found in a wooded area of Northport has been identified as 47-year-old Jason Robert Laneberger. He had been missing since July. State forensics made the identification of the decomposed body. The initial autopsy has not indicated any trauma or foul play. The investigation does continue. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got a fender bender on University northbound to 2059. Only causing minor delays for right now. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of the area not doing too bad at all. Now we've got 2059 construction zones, and this is on the southwest.
Lives. The one-day hands-on driving school gives teens experience in car control through exercises that include emergency braking and skid recovery. Find a class near you at TireRack.com/survive.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Want to earn some quick cash? Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston is stocking up on cute and cozy fall styles. We pay you on the spot for your gently used name brand clothes and accessories. Plus, while you're here, you can stock up on must-have looks for autumn. We're the go-to sustainable shopping spot for teens and young adults. So stop by Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston today and refresh your wardrobe. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
RiverResort.com. Yeah, that's right where I need to be. Don't miss Gary Allen. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Alabama's weather will stay dry through the weekend ahead. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 57. Tomorrow and Thursday, sunny both days, highs around 80. And Friday, another sunny day with a high at 79. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 53 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The flagship station for Alabama Crimson Tide football.
Alabama touchdown.
Only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Thank Yellowwood Pressure Treated Pine from Great Southern. They make this 7 o'clock hour possible. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Phone lines are open if you want to jump in, 205-342-9904. All right, I'm kind of tired of hearing what Nick Saban would or wouldn't have done. Nick Saban, guys, is no longer here, all right? So he chose to retire, which he had the perfect right to do. I don't think he wanted to deal with the times of college football now with the NIL and all that. He didn't like the direction it was going. I think he's extremely happy with what he's doing. I think he does a great job with it. One of the things, Dad, that he did that I wasn't 100% sure if I liked it or not was he had the one voice when he was running this program for 17 years. So his voice was the only voice. You would hear from the players, the coordinators you would hear from them right before the season and right before the bowl game, maybe the SEC championship. I can't remember if they spoke then, but you didn't hear from them during the season. I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I felt like maybe Coach was too controlling. It wasn't giving these guys the opportunity to learn how to speak in front of the media. Now, as I look on it, I love I love his philosophy. When Kane Womack, I wanted to make sure I heard his press conference yesterday. Nick Sheridan, I like him. He's pretty dry. He's not going to give you a ton. But when Kane Womack was up speaking, he said stuff, and you analyze all the things that these guys say when something doesn't go right. And he's been talking about this 4-5 and the swarm and all that stuff. I don't think the average fan would even have known what type of defense Alabama was running had he not been talking about it so much during these press conferences. And then yesterday he said that he thought they had a good defensive plan for Vanderbilt. And so when your team plays like that and then your coordinator gets up and says stuff like that, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying I think he's probably a really good coach. I don't know. It tends to make you want to roll your eyes and you analyze everything that he says, where if it was just one voice, you wouldn't be doing that. Your thoughts about that? I'm back to the one voice guy now. I don't like hearing from all these guys. I think the fans do, but I think they probably just need to coach because it opens up for a lot of criticism to these guys, which I know they're going to get it anyway because they overanalyze what they say.
Well, the one voice thing came from Bill Belichick. He said that he was in there as assistant coach, and at first he didn't like it. He was, I think, a defense coordinator or whatever it was. But after he stayed there and coached a while, he decided that he probably the one voice was a little bit better. So that's what he did when he came to Alabama. I don't have mixed emotions about it. I think the one voice is fine. I think it's the personalities a little bit of your two head guys. The head guys are allowed to speak before the real big games in the bowls or in 12-team playoff or whatever like that. But outside of that, they're not allowed to say much publicly. I can kind of go either way. I would probably lean towards one voice myself. Responsibility is mine that if we lose, I'm going to catch it anyway. And I would be darn sure that that I was doing a lot of coaching with my offensive defensive coordinators if they're falling down behind the scenes. But I would probably lean towards one voice.
Yeah, if you go back and you look at Nick Saban, now I'm sitting there saying I'm tired of hearing about what Nick Saban did. After a loss, that's when he would defend his players because the outside media was killing them. When they would win, he would be kind of hard on those guys. He didn't want he would say, the rat poison in there. But, when I hear Kalen DeBoer is always positive. He was positive yesterday. He said that, if my team played like that, this is the way I would do it. Kalen DeBoer's got to do it however he wants to do it. He's got the $10 million check, and he's the head coach, and he knows what's worked for him in the past. But he said we're a great team. I don't know how you say you're a great team after that performance. I couldn't get in front of a microphone and say I had a great team that just went to Vanderbilt. Now, maybe I'm overanalyzing what he says and he's just talking. But to say you have a great team after that performance don't add up to me.
Well, from the defensive standpoint, this is a little bit different from what you're saying about him. That's fine. I think that you don't get ready for Vanderbilt by looking at Vanderbilt's playing thus far, what they have done with their quarterback. I think you go back to New Mexico State and look at this quarterback and see how he has played throughout his last years there, and you study him. You just don't look at what he's doing right now. He ate Alabama for pregame meal with the job he did. The play calling was great. You talk about somebody that gained some yardage on third downs. He did, and so I don't know what. I heard the defense coordinator speak some, but if I have any criticism, there's no reason that the quarterback was able to do what he was able to do.
Yeah, most of the time when Alabama's playing a team,
Coach Barneswood does that.
When it gets right down to the end, they don't really believe they're going to beat Alabama, and at the end, they stumble, and Alabama beats them. Vanderbilt believed it. From the time they kicked that ball off and they scored, they picked it. And then I heard Coach talking about, well, we got down 13-0, so you got to get more aggressive. That's in the first quarter. Like, you don't have to throw everything out the window. You don't have to – You got to get stops on defense to get the ball back.
You got to get stops on defense to get the ball back is the key right there. You can't score without it, and your defense has got to get the ball back for you, three and punt or turnovers or something. And not only was the alignment a little bit suspicious, the tackling wasn't great. And I think. I don't know what they do, but I think they take a long look at that thing. That Vanderbilt loss in the meeting to decide the top 12, along with another loss that you're going to have probably, is a little bit costly to you.
Yeah, I get to the Yellowwood Hotline and get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Good morning, y'all. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Boy, it's always dramatic when the Crimson Tide loses, ain't it, man? Whew.
Yeah.
But I think DeBoer he'll handle it. I think everything will be okay. It's just going to be a kind of a tumultuous first year. Alabama may have a few more losses to worry about before the year's over with. They may not. They may gel and get it together and clean up their act. A few more guys may be gone before the end of the week. We just don't know yet. Jaheim may just be the start of it. We don't know. But I will say that the eliminations kind of get started this weekend. You've got Ohio State and Oregon playing each other in a huge game. You've got Wimp, as I already mentioned it, LSU versus Ole Miss is pretty much, I would think right now, Barry, and went an elimination game for one of those two teams. And then you've got a really interesting game to me, and Deion, Colorado, playing Kansas State. I think Kansas State is a really good team, but I think Colorado's a pretty good team.
Yeah, they've come back since that Nebraska game, and they've played well. So we'll see if they keep it going.
The Oregon-Ohio State game is an interesting game because Oregon gets 3 points in the game. They have not played quite as well as they need to play, basically. And neither is Ohio State. Ohio State's supposed to have the best personnel, run the score up the most, and they haven't done it. So I think that's a huge game because Oregon gets beaten that game, and the way they've been playing it, they might be out.
You know, Philip, you bring up an interesting point too, and I'm a lot like you. Like, I think you thought Alabama's going to be 9-3, and then you watched them play, and you said, now they're going to be 12-0, and then all of a sudden they lose to Vanderbilt. And in 1 week, we all went from thinking, man, this team is really good, to now we're questioning it just like it changes, and it you know, what you think you've seen and what you think's going to happen, like, it can change drastically in 1 week. Just think about what we're thinking about this team now. But this time last week, we were, you know, praising these guys about how they beat Georgia, and it's Georgia doesn't have a Nick Saban problem. It's an Alabama problem. And now, if you look out, people think these guys don't have a clue what they're doing.
Oh, Barry, it's always been dramatic in Tuscaloosa. You know, when the Tide drops a game, or even if they play poorly. I remember when I was a student at Alabama back in the Pleasio-Stein era. Alabama played Cincinnati at home. I think it may have been in 80 or 81, and Alabama just played a really poor game. They beat Cincinnati, but it was not a good game, and it was just. Man, it's like the earth stood still after that. You know, it was a lot of controversy, a lot of people, you know, giving Coach Bryant hell and giving the program hell, and little did we know that, you know, a year or so down the road he'd be gone. But and then the Reggie Collier game when Southern Miss came to town and beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa and snapped that long winning streak. It's been, you know, every few years it's just a dramatic loss where people just absolutely go ape.
The answer to the question, and the answer to both of you, is that your football team, with your coaching staff and your leaders of your team, have got to keep your team together. It don't make a rat's ass what everybody says.
That's true.
It doesn't make any difference what they think, what they say. But here's the answer. You get your football team together with your assistant coaches. And you be a little bit tougher, I think, than Kevin DeBoer is. I think he's good. But I think a little bit tougher than him, and get your team ready to play and screw everybody.
Yeah, I think we got to get Philip. We were thinking the same thing last year after the South Florida game, and then Nick Saban and staff turned it around, and then you thought completely different at the end of the year than you thought after that game. We'll see where this story ends this year. Thank you, Philip.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we'll get to break here and get Kevin Skrabanski in. Listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got a fender bender on University northbound to 2059. Only causing minor delays for right now. Otherwise, traffic on the rest of the area not doing too bad at all. Now we've got 2059 construction zones, and this is on the southwest.
The Humana Honor Medicare Advantage Plan gives you $1,680 back each year in your Social Security check. Choose coverage that helps you keep more money in your pocket. Learn more at GetHumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. The Part B Give Back benefit pays part or all of your Part B premium, and the amount may change based on the amount you pay for Part B. Limitations and restrictions may apply. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Project and warehouse management, ARC flash studies, and more. Visit CED in Tuscaloosa, Coleman, and Decatur, and All Phase Electric Supply in Albertville and Huntsville.
You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
in Yellowwood, pressure treated pine from Great Southern. Build the fence, the deck, the pergola. There's only one choice. That would be Yellowwood. Go to yellowwood.com to find a dealer closest to you. Right to the Yellowwood hotline. He's waits with the Birmingham Lead. Has the college football show on CBS 42 every Saturday. Joins us every Tuesday. Kevin Skarbinski. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Kevin. Good morning, guys. Have they shut down Alabama football yet? have they just closed the doors? After no pun intended. Close the doors. Get it?
Yeah, people are changing week to week, Kevin. I was just saying last year after they lost to Texas, and then they went down to South Florida and played absolutely awful. I don't know if Alabama fans are more distraught now or where they were then. And then the story changed and the season went on and it ended. Probably I don't think anybody thought they'd make the playoff. They did. So I think Dad just said it perfectly. Those guys over at the Balboa Bed, they just got to shut the doors and get to work, find out what's going to make this football team as good as it can be and not worry about the outside noise because it's crazy out there right now. Right, Kevin? Do you think Kalen DeBoer and that's his staff are a little bit shocked at how the outside noise is acting right now?
Yes, I think they have to be. And we've had this discussion going back to shortly after Kalen was hired that you don't really understand what it means to be the Alabama football coach until you lose a game. And to lose one like they lost Saturday to a team that you never lose to, in the way that it happened, there was no fluke play. There was no prayer and Jordan Hare, no kick six, no, let me say, I don't think the kick six was a fluke play. It was a lightning bolt from the Blues, certainly, but it was well thought out by Auburn to put a guy back there to run it back. And it was not well thought out by Alabama to have, as Gary Danielson said, all fat guys on the field. But there was nothing like that. This was one team completely controlling the other team. And the fact that it was Vanderbilt controlling Alabama is something you just don't see. So obviously that adds to it. But what does this come down to? It comes down to the word, Wimp, that I've heard you use a million times, expectations. We don't expect Alabama to lose any football game, but we certainly do not expect Alabama to lose to Vanderbilt. And there's a good reason for that because it hadn't happened in 40 years, even though they don't play every year. Vanderbilt had never beaten a top 5 team. They were 0-60. I can go on. But for all those reasons, it's really, though, the way it happened as much as what happened that has so many people out on the ledge, ready to jump, or ready to push Kane Womack and company out the window after the way the defense performed, and then Malachi Moore showing his tail the way he did. There were just a lot of reasons to be concerned. However, one of the things that's always made football different is that sense of Armageddon, that every game is Armageddon if you lose it, especially. And so, even though we know that's not the case, Nick Saban won how many national championships after losing a game? So, and that was included the BCS championship era, where only 2 teams got to play for the national title. So it's not the end of the world. It's no reason to burn all of your Alabama memorabilia and gear and never watch them again. It's no reason to fully believe that this staff will never get it done because they're too soft. They don't know what they're doing. They're, all the different things that we've heard. It's time to step back. Look, and I said this in my column yesterday, the way people will remember this loss, it will be remembered, just as Louisiana Monroe is remembered from Nick Saban's first season. But the way it's remembered will depend on what happens from here. Is this the start of a bad trend, or is it an anomaly? Is it a one-off? Is it an outlier? And we don't know. That's why, everyone should probably watch the game Saturday and then the game after that against Tennessee, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Is this not the same team with the same coach, the same quarterback that beat Auburn last year?
It's not, well, it's not the same team, but it is kind of New Mexico State East with what Vanderbilt did.
Coach Kill. It's Coach Kill. Coach Kill.
Yeah, that's why I say, and there are other guys too. He brought in a number of guys from New Mexico State.
Yeah. They beat Auburn. They beat Auburn with Coach Kill. He goes to Texas quarterback there. I didn't even realize it, and beats Alabama.
Yeah.
So
some of us were aware, Wimp. Some of us knew that and mentioned that. That look, Diego Pavia. You want a quarterback to go into a foxhole with, to use an old metaphor. That guy was a state high school wrestling champion. That dude's got a toughness about him that is really fun to watch. It was part option football perfection and precision, and part Johnny football, backyard football, improvisation. That's at his best. That's what Diego Pavia brings. But another reason why that people are upset is let's not. Yeah, Vanderbilt is better, and let's give Vanderbilt credit. Let's give Clark Lee credit for what he's done there as the head coach. They are definitely better. But let's also realize they had lost their 2 previous games. They had lost to Georgia State. They had lost at Missouri. They had not had 42 minutes of possession in a game. They had not had over 400 yards of offense in a game, in any game this year, and that includes Alcorn State, whom they beat 55-0. So they performed so much above what they had done already this year, and yes, they had an extra week to prepare. That always helps, or often helps, but let's not pretend that Vanderbilt all of a sudden is Alabama 2009 or 2011. That's another reason I think that Alabama fans are upset. It's not like, we saw this. You could suspect this could happen because Vanderbilt was much improved. Now, having said that, Vanderbilt got them in a great spot, playing them after the Georgia game, after an emotional classic like that the week before. That's a great time to get a team. Just like, and I'm going to say something that if there are any Auburn fans listening, they won't appreciate. Auburn was in a great spot getting Georgia the week after Alabama. However, the bad news for Alabama was they had to play a Vanderbilt team that was ready to play that kind of game.
Well,
Georgia was lucky that they got to play an Auburn team that's not ready to play that kind of game.
I don't know this, Kevin, but mental is to physical, what 3 is to 1.
I love that phrase. I love that. I'm going to write that on my wall.
Because the mental situation for Alabama, they didn't tackle. I don't know if they weren't mental ready to play. I don't think they were. I think if you play Vanderbilt now, you'd beat the crap out of them because you played them once. But I don't know that Barry may know. I don't know if they were mentally ready to play.
And let me pick up that ball and run with it. That kind of game, when you're especially focusing on the Vanderbilt offense against the Alabama defense, that is not as much of a physical game as it is a mental game. How many times have we heard the phrase assignment football? Triple option is assignment football. It's not about being more physical than the guy in front of you. It's not being able to bench press 600 pounds. It is about knowing who's got the dive guy, who's got the quarterback, who's got the pitch guy. And if you don't know your assignments and play your assignments, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's why the service academies, like Navy, I saw a clinic in option football when Navy came here a couple of weeks ago and beat UAB. The precision of the Navy offense was beautiful to watch. And the same thing with Vanderbilt on Saturday. And Vanderbilt had the added bonus is redundant. They had the bonus of Diego Pavia being able to turn into Johnny Football Jr. when things broke down.
Yeah, well, most guys don't really think they're going to beat Alabama. They get it down to the very end, and then Alabama wins it. Diego Pavia, he knew they were going to beat Alabama. He had the mindset that you can't teach. If you could teach that, you would instill that in every player you coach, Kevin. Kevin, I want to ask you this.
Yes.
Should, and I don't know if the right word should, former Alabama players, guys that played under Coach Saban, should they come out and be so critical? I've seen Marquise Mays. He's Clinton Dix came out kind of critical. Damian Harris came out, was very critical. They've been in these situations where people turn on them. Should they be so critical on podcasts, any forms of social media, or should they try to help these guys behind the scenes, maybe reach out to them and say, hey, man, keep your head up, keep fighting? I see a lot of these guys blasting these guys and blasting these coaches publicly. Is that okay? Your thoughts about that?
Damian Harris might have been the worst.
Yeah.
Holy cow. He was brutal. In talking about Malachi Moore's behavior,
yes,
for example, in particular.
And he earned it, but
look,
should they?
All of those guys, those guys, in terms of having standing to make those kind of comments, to be critical, those guys, as you just said, they've earned it.
Sure. Because
they've sweated and bled on that field, on that practice field, behind closed doors. And so they are, it's very much like Miami was back in the day when the U was the U. And the old players would come back, a lot of them NFL players that you'd see them on the sideline at games, especially at bowl games, at championship games. And they set a standard that they expected the guys that followed them to uphold. And clearly Alabama almost patented the phrase the Bama standard, that they expect to play a certain way to not just win, but win a certain way. But I don't know how much good it does. Does it light a fire under the current guys? Do the current guys need that to change their behavior? I don't know if it actually makes any difference in terms of that. Like the guys in that locker room now, you think they're not embarrassed? You think they're not angry? You think that they're not busting it in practice this week, working extra hard, maybe spending extra time in the film room, whatever it might be, to make sure that doesn't happen again. But the one phrase that I've heard, not just from former players, but mainly from fans, that is absolutely laughable, is this wouldn't happen if Nick Saban were there. If Nick Saban were there, Malachi Moore would have walked back from Nashville. If Nick Saban were there, Malachi Moore would be running 1,000 stadium steps every day before the sun came up. If Nick Saban were there, Malachi Moore wouldn't play the next. Let's stop a second. Nick Saban let guys play after they got DUIs. Nick Saban went out and got guys who were accused of, a guy in particular from Georgia, who was accused of domestic violence. Nick Saban was not this paragon of virtue who, the minute you made a mistake, he stomped on he tore out your heart and stomped that sucker flat, the way, who said that? Was that a Louis Grizzard saying? So let's not pretend that Nick Saban didn't cut corners, that Nick Saban didn't play guys after they'd made mistakes. One of Nick Saban's most famous rants was about giving guys second chances. And it was almost, he was very serious, and he made good points. But he also made such an extreme point that the only choices were, like, if I don't play this guy, if I suspend this guy, if I take away his playing time, which is the strongest disciplinary tool a coach has, is playing time. If I don't play this guy, he's going to be out on the streets. He's going to be in jail. He's going to end up in jail. And what would you rather have? Would you rather have him be in our football program changing his behavior, or would you rather have me kick him out on the streets and have his life fall apart? There's an in-between. That's not the extreme choice usually. So stop with the if Nick Saban were there. That's just not factually correct.
True. That.
If I were to ask you right now, which is a dumb question, will Alabama be in the Final 12 with another loss? I know it's a bad question at this time of year, but would they be borderline with another loss?
Well, yeah, there's so many factors that go into it. You know, if you tell me how Vanderbilt finishes. Tell me if Vanderbilt goes 6-6 and qualifies for a bowl game, or 7-5, or does Vanderbilt slip back? Was this their high water mark? Is this their Super Bowl? Do they fall back to earth somewhat? Like I said, guys, I looked at the stats of every Vanderbilt game this year. They did not play anything like this. They showed signs of this. They were at their peak on Saturday, what they did, the way they ran that offense. Again, they had all those categories that stood out, the third down conversions. They didn't convert 12 out of 18 in any game before that. The 400 yards of offense, they didn't have 400 yards of offense in any game before that. The time of possession, et cetera, et cetera. So they outperformed anything they had done this year against Alabama. Do they continue that? And do they have a very nice year? That will make a difference.
Well, they're not
in terms of whether Alabama, and what else has happened. Look at the carnage that happened Saturday. You know, all of a sudden Tennessee looks not very mediocre. They were very mediocre in that game, and Arkansas played, especially defensively, played its heart out. So, you know, teams that looked like that we thought might be playoff teams, all of a sudden look like, wow, that's not necessarily a playoff team. That team's got issues. That team's got problems. That team's got vulnerabilities, which is true of just about everybody. So it's impossible. Anybody who tells you now, yes, Alabama will be in the 12-team playoff even if it loses one more, nobody knows, because the details are going to matter. Yeah, the details are going to matter. Yeah.
You remember, though, Alabama's not supposed to play like that defensively. You know, you talk about rushing, reading the defense, the offense is what Alabama does. Well, the reading came from the quarterback at Vanderbilt. He read Alabama's defensively more than Alabama's defense read their offense.
Yeah, it was checkers versus chess, is what it was. But let's also remember, and again, this goes into a subset of the category. If Nick Saban were there, this kind of thing wouldn't happen. I kind of remember Alabama giving up 52 points to Tennessee 2 years ago. Since I can go back, I don't have all the numbers in my head, but there has been a marked difference in Alabama's defense since the last year Jeremy Pruitt was the defensive coordinator. Under Kirby Smart and Jeremy Pruitt, Alabama finished in the top 5 in total defense and scoring defense in the country virtually every year. They have not been at that level since Jeremy Pruitt left to become the Tennessee head coach. They've been good. They haven't been dominant. Now, part of that's the way the game is played, but Nick consciously made a decision. He realized you're going to have to win some games by scoring 45, outscoring people. And since they did that, since the game changed, they have not been as dominant on defense.
Jaheim Oatis, probably, I think he's played in 2 games this year. You could play in 4. He's probably afraid they're going to put him in, you know, in the fourth quarter in some meaningless games, and he's going to burn that red shirt. I don't think he's been maybe doing what he's supposed to. I don't know this, but it doesn't look like he was going to win a job, and so he's decided to go to the portal. Now, the way he's doing it, he's not going to practice football here for the next, 2.5 months. But if he had gone to those guys and said, look, I'll be here to help you. I want to develop, but I'm probably going to leave at the end of the semester and try to transfer. I don't know. What's right there? How do you handle that? People saying he quit on his team. How's he going to improve now he's not practicing? He's probably I'm speaking for him. Afraid they're going to put him in 2 or 3 more games. He's going to burn that year. I don't know. Your thoughts about what happened there yesterday on top of the Vanderbilt game, then it just doesn't look great.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations that we're hamstrung by a lack of information.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really know unless and until he confides in someone or goes public himself and explains his decision. So it's unfair, I think, to slam him, to say he's not a team guy, to say he's this, to say he's that. We don't know the whole story, and this is one where I think you got to be a little careful about coming down too hard on a player. Look, it's a different era. This is happening all over college football now, guys deciding they don't want to, after they get to 4 games, they don't want to burn that year because they feel like they're probably not going to be at that program next year for whatever reason. Maybe they don't feel like they're in the plans to play a significant role, whatever it might be. And look, what's the phrase? Again, this is how much football has changed. How many times did we hear guys when they committed to Alabama to play football for Alabama under Nick Saban say, I made a business decision? Yeah. And what they meant was, and I know a lot of rival fans thought, yeah, we know what a business decision means. But I think what they really meant was that if you go to Alabama, there's a good chance if you work hard and you develop that you're going to get drafted and you're going to play in the NFL. You're going to sign a really nice contract. And Alabama would put out all those recruiting posters about the value of all the contracts that their players had signed in the Nick Saban era. It was an incredibly powerful recruiting tool. Well, now you can get paid up front. You can get paid while you're in college, within the rules. So now guys don't have that, they're not willing to wait for delayed gratification. They want to get paid now. And, you can't blame them. You don't know their family situation, how much it would mean to them to be able to have that money. So I say all this to say a lot of factors go into it. I don't know what Jaheim Otis' situation is. So I would be real hesitant to come down too hard on him without knowing more.
Let me just say this to both of you and to our listening audience. It all comes down in numbers. If you have one that does it and 5 others that decide they're going to do it, and not just Alabama, we got 16 teams in the league. It comes down to numbers, and it could be where you could have 4 or 5 guys do that, and I think it could be hurtful in some programs.
Well, it can be hurtful. Even in elite programs that win and expect to win all the time, like Alabama, if you lose, you could lose 1 or 2 guys at a certain position, and all of a sudden, the depth you thought you had, you no longer have. And now you're in a precarious position because what if another guy gets hurt at that position? And now you don't have the guy that you could have plugged in who was very talented but wasn't getting as many snaps. Now you've lost 2 guys at that spot. So that's why that's why I think we're going to see more of this chaos, this carnage. The Tennessee-Arkansas game, the Alabama game, all these upsets we saw on Saturday. I think we're going to see more of that because of that reason, that when you don't have as much depth at a certain position, it can come back to bite you. And guys are opting out. They're deciding to take a red shirt, whatever it might be. But I also see the other side. I don't know if it helps you, how it helps you to sit out and not even be practicing for the next couple of months. It seems to me that you get better by practicing and playing. That seems pretty obvious, right? So I don't know how that helps you. Yeah.
To both of you, should we have the red shirt rule?
No, you should have 5 years. You could play. I think what they ought to do is make it a straight 5 years. If you play 1 snap, you play 1,000 snaps, and you get 5 years to play. I think that's the way it ought to be. And then maybe you add in a provision like the old red shirt rule. If you got hurt within a certain time frame, the first 4 games of the season or first 3 games of the season, whatever it might be, and if you had an injury that put you out for the rest of the season, then maybe you get a chance at a 6th year.
Here is the problem right now in one sentence that is wrong with college football. At the end of Jaheim Otis' statement, he says, Kevin, at this time, all communication will go through my representatives at Young Money, APAA Sports, 80 Von Gontard and Norman Rosenfield. Please respect my Young Money AP. That's the name of the firm that's representing. And they may be the greatest firm ever, but Young Money? Come on.
What Barry's saying is, let me tell you something. I said
it's honest, isn't it? That's what we got now. We got a lot of guys making young money. That's what we got. We got a lot of young guys making money.
I said something about if they did that to cut their scholarship, and Barry's right. Once you get the scholarship, it's there. But you could do with an agent, if they use this kind of rule, your money is cut and signed with your agent. And that way it would stop you from leaving.
Yeah, you have to fulfill the semester.
That's right.
You have a contract.
Well, that's what it all. Well, look, whoever's putting these contracts together, this is why it has to come in-house. This is why the schools have to pay the players. There have to be standardized contracts, not all for the same amount, but the basic parameters are the same. You leave before the season's over. You don't, your money stops, whatever it might be.
That's right.
You have to, but these things have to be collectively bargained. And the players have to have a voice in it, just like it happens in every professional sport. Since this is now a semi-professional sport, then we need both sides, somebody representing the players, somebody representing the owners / schools, to sit down and okay, this is how many hours a week you can practice. This is what the contract says. This is when you get paid. This is when you don't get paid. This is when the free agency period happens or the transfer portal. And everybody knows the rules. There's none of these backroom deals. And let's be honest, too, guys. It is only right. Now, we can make fun of the name of that representation firm, but those kids need representation. Those kids need representation. Would you like to have negotiated a contract when you were 18 or 19? Would you have felt confident in your ability to do that? Well, no, you should have somebody. You need an adult in the room to advise you on signing these deals, because there are some one-sided deals that go against the players.
Yeah, the representation has all the power.
But what he means is you go through Young Money to let them know how much money you're going to pay me to come. And what he don't realize is anybody that wants him, they're calling Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer and saying, all right, tell me. Didn't know those guys. Yeah. All right, tell me about this guy. They ain't calling Young Money first, unless they call them. They said this guy was unbelievable. He had this. Then they might call Young Money. They ain't calling Young Money until they talk to Nick Saban.
I don't think, Kevin. I disagree. I think the broker that's dealing with the player has all the power. He can put in that contract, and he'd have a hard time putting the contract. If you stop at a certain time, you don't get your money. I think they can do that.
They have that power. The coach has the power, again, of playing time. If you don't perform, you don't play. Because I've got a guy who's working harder than you. He's just as talented as you, and he's gonna help me, give me a better chance to win. I'm playing that guy. I don't care how much money we're paying you. I ain't playing you if you're not giving me everything you got. So that would be my point on that. The coach does not have the power he used to have. I totally agree with that. And the players have power they never had before. But we could go back to certain situations like Bo Jackson at Auburn. Do you think Bo Jackson practiced hard? Do you think he practiced every day? I can tell you because I was there watching practice every day when he was a senior. He did not.
No.
But Pat Dye and Bud Casey, the running backs coach, again, hard-nosed, old-school football coaches. They made allowances for Bo Jackson because they knew what he did on Saturdays.
Sure.
All right, tell everybody where they can find you, Kevin. We blew way past the break.
Yeah. Best thing to do, follow me on X/Twitter at Kevin Skarbinski. Read me in the Birmingham Lead. Watch me on Saturday at 6:30 on CBS 42, College Football Saturdays with Scott Griffin. We have a lot of fun on that show.
All right.
Sorry you couldn't talk about UAB football.
Yeah.
Ooh.
UAB.
You talk about a dumpster fire. Holy cow.
They should be thanking Vanderbilt because nobody's talking about that debacle because of Vanderbilt. So thank you, Kevin.
UAB fans are talking about it, but that's a smaller conversation.
Tell UAB to call Young Money if they want Jaheim Otis, Kevin.
They need a whole lot of Jaheim Otises over there right now.
Thanks.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you. All right. I'm sorry about that, Chase. We just kept going. All right. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. We want to thank Yellowwood who brought you that 7 o'clock hour.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles,
Here's Eddie Garcia.
Check out postseason baseball. We had a pair of ALDS games and wins for both the road teams. The Tigers beat the Guardians in Cleveland 3-0. Detroit's Kerry Carpenter blasted a 3-run homer in the ninth off Cleveland star closer Emmanuel Clase. Detroit starter Tarek Skubal, 7 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, no walks, as he and 2 relievers combined on a 3-hit shutout. That series is tied at 1-1. Now heading to Detroit. Royals over the Yankees in the Bronx, 4-2. Kansas City scored all 4 of their runs in the 4th inning. Salvador Perez had a home run as a part of it. That series is tied at 1-1. Now heading to Kansas City. Matter of fact, all 4 of the divisional series are tied at a game apiece. Week 5 in the NFL came to a close with Monday Night Football in Kansas City, where the Chiefs beat the Saints 26-13 to improve to 5-0. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes, 331 yards passing, no touchdowns and interception, but led the team up and down the field. Kareem Hunt and Xavier Worthy with the rushing scores in the win.
It's the Tide 100.9 30K Workday Payday. Woo! Win cash every weekday 8 to 5. Here's this hour's cash code.
604. Again, that's 604. The code is 604.
Enter that code now on the Tide.
The Humana Honor Medicare Advantage Plan gives you $1,680 back each year in your Social Security check. Choose coverage that helps you keep more money in your pocket. Learn more at GetHumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. The Part B Give Back benefit pays part or all of your Part B premium, and the amount may change based on the amount you pay for Part B. Limitations and restrictions may apply. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Free shipping to your home on purchases over $25. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is located at 4610 U.S. Highway 280 in Birmingham.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Looking at a bit of a load on University Boulevard, northbound to 2059. That is the scene of a crash. It's got traffic a little on the heavier side. Now traffic elsewhere starting to thicken up just a skosh, not too much. We do have delays on 43. That's definitely got you in a bit of a crunch on the southbound lanes to McFarland. It's got traffic pretty slow back to Flatwoods Drive or Flatwoods Road. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, Tammy Thomas.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Alabama's weather will stay dry through the weekend ahead. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 57. Tomorrow and Thursday, sunny both days, highs around 80. And Friday, another sunny day with a high at 79. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 55 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Andrew Kniffer, he's my Allstate insurance agent. He'll help us kick off this 8 o'clock hour. Andrew's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 in Northport. You're going to get your hands in good with Allstate. He will run a quote for you, looking for home, life, auto, whatever you need. Andrew and his staff will take great care of you if you have a situation come up. I've told you every day. These guys know right where to send you. So give them a call today, 205-722-9201. Before we get to Tom, a couple app messages came in. From Salt Lake City. It's a SLC Bama girl. Former players like Damian Harris screeching publicly for look at me attention are going to hurt recruiting and morale. Dad, your thoughts on these former players coming out publicly and pretty much smashing these players and coaching staff?
Well, it's not good. I don't think it helps. It doesn't do anything. Anybody any good for them to do that. That either they want to be shown that this, that they got all the answers, or I just don't think it's best thing for it to happen. And I don't know how you keep it from happening, but it ain't good.
Yeah, and then Joe from Dothan says, I think our defense was pretty good last year. Not elite, but could get stops. Georgia scored more points in the second half than they did in the SEC title game last year. I don't think anybody's going to argue with Joe. This defense has got to pick it up at this team.
It was an outscore game. You got an outscore them type game. That's what it was. The offense took over that game.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the Andrew Conifer hotline. Get Tom in. Good morning, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Morning, Barry. Morning, Coach. How are y'all this morning?
You're all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, it's difficult to sit in the audience of the radio shows, and I said that plural, and listen to people misinterpret verbiage. I'm a stickler for verbiage. It's an important thing. And when verbiage is used by people in authoritative type positions, you have to listen. And you have to put it in context. Case in point. Coach DeBoer said, I think we still have a great team.
Yes.
Now, he didn't say, I thought, and he didn't say, I think we're gonna. He said, I think that we still have a great team. In other words, I still have confidence in what we can accomplish with this team. Totally misrepresented in the media by his comment. Coach Kane, second point.
No, Tom. What you heard and what other people, what I heard and what you heard, it just depends on how you interpret what you hear. Everybody interprets things differently.
It has a meaning. That's my point. Verbiage has a meaning.
Go ahead.
Second point. Coach Kane said, I thought, which I hate that term, but it's used constantly, I thought we had a good game plan. Now, and then you say, well, you sound stupid saying that. Well, what coach goes into a game at that level that don't think their plan is going to be effective? And then third, Louis Grizzard's name should never come out of Kevin Skarbinski's mouth. That's a bad mistake. That's a joke. Anyway, and you know, I think that they what they said was misrepresented by the media.
Well, I just think it's their style. I think Kalen Bohr sees the positive in things, and he's going to preach positive. I'm more of a guy that would not be praising my team. I would not be talking about we have a chance to be great because we haven't shown it. We haven't shown it for 6 quarters. That's not a great team that's been out there on the football field for 6 quarters, as well as a great team that played against South Florida. The word great in this team would not even be. Now, at the end of the year, if they turn it back around, then fine. Now, you know, is he just talking, trying to get through a press conference to get back to his film? Probably. I
believe he believes. I believe he believes that team is great. I do. And
great.
What's he going to do? Go out there and say, "I thought we was good, but we're not."
Do you think that he thinks that team's great? You have a different definition of great than I do.
Well, no. I'm saying what he's saying is, I still think we have a great team. In other words, I still believe in this team. That's the way I took it.
I just think he is being who he is. He's a very positive guy. He's always going to see the good in everybody. He saw the good and
publicly.
Publicly. I don't know what he does behind closed doors.
Right. There you go.
Malachi Moore. I think he has a soft spot in his heart for Malachi Moore because when he came, I think there were people that were running out, jumping off the ship, and he stood firm and stayed here. But at the same time, what he did, and I think Coach would say it, and Malachi Moore would say it as well, what he did the other night was bad. I mean, it was bad. It was bad.
He said we're handling, and he said we're still handling this in-house.
Yeah. So he said we're handling it in the house, but he's not going to suspend him. That's his choice, whether to suspend him or not. I would suspend him. I don't belittle him for not suspending him. I don't know how he's handling it. I didn't talk to Malachi Moore. I saw those statements don't mean anything to me. When you send out a statement, everybody starts goo-gooing and gaga over a statement that they probably didn't even write to begin with. I like to hear you talk.
I didn't know that he came out with a written statement. I don't like it either.
Yeah.
If he comes out personally and says something, goes to the microphone and says something, it means there are too many people behind the scenes that sit him down and say, "Now let me tell you something. We got to get this straightened out. We're getting a lot of criticism. Here's what you need to say." And if that came down, and I'll bet you it did, then that's not good.
Yeah, if he's a fifth-year senior, then he has enough maturity to get in front of the microphone and apologize for what he did.
Oh, I agree.
And I'll take it. And when you send out a statement, I just think some lawyer wrote it up, looked at it, said, "You all right with this?" All right, boom, send it.
I didn't know that happened. I agree.
Now, some guys probably aren't capable of getting in front of the microphone and doing it. He is. He's been here for 5 years.
I agree with you, and I don't disagree. I said yesterday that, I'm not going to sit here and argue about how to handle disciplinary problems with two people that have been on the firing line like you and your dad. I would never do that because I don't know. I'm a John Q. fan. But I thought it was my duty to point out the discrepancies in the interpretation of the verbiage of the coaches and how I perceived what they were saying. And I don't think a head coach can come out and blast his team this early in the season with so much at stake. Now, it may prove out to be that you're right, that he shouldn't have. He should have blasted him. I don't know. But there again, I tell you something else I got a problem with. Vandy, you remember Stephen Garcia? I brought this up like 5 billion times.
I was at that game at South Carolina.
Exactly. And you saw a kid that, righted the ship for maybe a week, 2 weeks. I don't know what it was. He had his problems. You got to admit that. And he goes out there and has a game of his life against who? Guess who? Alabama. He plays like he'd never played before. And then this kid at Vandy, and let's just face it, they had a great plan, and they exploited something that I think has been a weakness at Alabama for 2 to 3 years. And I'm not going to go into it because it sounds like I'm calling for somebody to get fired, and I don't need to do that. But they exploited a weakness in our defense Saturday. They were smart enough to do it. Give them freaking credit. It may be just one game. They may not have done nothing in the past. They may not do nothing in the future. But Saturday, by God, they had it together. Did they not?
They did. And there's been a lot of talk about celebrations. Like, should you celebrate? Well, I don't really have a problem with the guy celebrating, but not when you're getting your butt beat. When you're getting your butt beat and you go in there and score, throw the ball to the official, run back to the – now, if you're up 28 points and you made a great run, you want to celebrate, fine. It's like when you're beating that team 45-0, and that guy scores a touchdown. He's putting up his finger. He's number one after he's getting his booty beat. When you're celebrating, when you're getting your ASS kicked, I have a problem with that. That's not time to be celebrating. Sling the ball to the official and run back to the sideline.
I didn't like this in that Vandy game. Alabama talking trash all day long. All day long. Nobody could do anything, but they had more energy going into talking trash than they did trying to stop somebody. And Nick Kelly said he'd never seen anything to beat it, and how much trash was being talked on that field. But you know what? Vandy could talk trash because you know what? They had the scoreboard dominated.
But Vandy, unlike most teams, they, for whatever reason, believed they were going to win. And they may be because that quarterback swagger.
That's a great point.
Well, I didn't know about the trash talking, but if they did, let me just say this: if they did what you said, that means that you're losing some of your discipline.
Yeah,
that means that when you start that kind of crap, I grab Coach Bryant. I ain't myself. I'm not trying to compare myself to Coach Bryant. I shake the dog. You start talking crap. You got problems that you don't know you got.
And that's the only thing I don't see the fire. If they would have acted like that, when they walked off that practice field on Sunday, they would have been dragging. If they were talking trash after getting their butt handed to them, when as many Alabama people paid the money that they paid to go up there and get in that stadium, they had 3/4 of the stadium. And for you to go out there and lay an egg and then you're trash talking during the game, that's a problem. That's a problem, Tom.
You're not ready to play.
Y'all are so right. And I think that is so important to hear that from a coach's perspective. Coach Saban now, they can say what they want to about what he put up with and what he wouldn't. He would not put up with that.
No. He would give you a second chance, but he would not put up with that stuff right there. No.
Well, he was all about where are you forcing your energy to? Well, it was obvious that defense had their energy at the who knows where. I'm not going to say on the radio, but they were flat of it all afternoon with that way Daniel played. But look, I say give Daniel credit. I don't give a crap if it was one game. Give him credit.
I just think I hate to bring stuff up personally, but when I had a staff and I just gotten the job and I met with them and my staff said, "You can't do this, Coach. You can't do this. You'll run along. Everybody's going to be mad." I said, "I don't give a crap whether everybody in the world's mad. We're going to do it my way because this team's too soft." And
you know what? That's a leader for you. That's a leader for you.
So they got all upset with me. One of them got so upset with me that he felt like he should come to. He was a GA, so he decided he wasn't even going to go with the team to the Kentucky game, the one that we won and won the SEC championship. And I nailed his butt about jobs when it was over. He didn't get nothing. Go ahead.
Well, I tell you something else.
Yesterday, Tom, I would have told the two coordinators, you don't need to go to the press conference. I got it. I got today. And I would have sent a real message as to who was in charge of this football program. Whatever we did, whatever we did, we weren't ready. I think our offense played great. I like hearing Nick Sheridan, but I don't think he don't tell you nothing. He's very serious about what he's doing. And I just think they got to maybe change their toughness over there a little bit. We'll see if it happens on Sunday. Now, South Carolina is a team that doesn't match up probably well with Alabama. They don't have an offense that's tricky like Vanderbilt did, so they probably will lay the wood to South Carolina, I would think, on Saturday. So we'll see.
Well, I tell you what, they got one coming. They better be ready for it.
They might. If they don't, then there's a real problem over there.
You're right. You're exactly right, because you can tell from week to week, and it's the little things, like that trash talking thing, like Coach said.
Trash talking. Oh, mercy. I didn't know.
Trash talking when you're getting your butt handed to you, that don't equal up. That's talking about look at me, and that's not good. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
See y'all.
All right, we'll take the break here. We got Tony holding. We'll get to Tony when we get back from break. Tuscaloosa Toyota, I want to thank those guys for being a great sponsor on Inside the Locker Room. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. You can look at all the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory. You can rent a Toyota right there at the website. You need to schedule a service. You can do that as well. You can swing out to Skyline Boulevard, see Justin, see David. These guys will take great care of you. Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. And this is Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. You can expect delays on the northwest lanes of 2059 at Joe Malisham Parkway. It's road construction in the area as well, so that is in between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard. Well, actually, that construction is on the eastbound side, but you are definitely seeing some westbound delays.
This October, Tanger invites you to shop pink and save lives. Your donation of $10 or more to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation helps fuel innovative research that brings us closer to a cure. It also unlocks exclusive savings from brands like Coach, Crocs, Columbia Factory Store, and more to shop all month long. Join us as we mark 30 years of advancing research and empowering hope. Donate and access your exclusive savings today at Tanger.com.
Visit us now and save big and discover why so many are switching to BMW. BMW of Tuscaloosa. Take your dreams for a drive.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by Everwood Treatment Company, the official treated lumber of Alabama athletics. Everwood, wood treated right. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Here are thoughts from head coach Kalen DeBoer during Monday's press conference in Tuscaloosa.
Watching the film and all of that from Saturday, just a lot of the same feelings I had, after the game. And I think the feelings, first of all, the team has certainly disappointed, upset, fired up, and I think, you're always looking at what the response is. And they came yesterday back. The thing you have to provide as coaches is the answers, an understanding of where we go from here. And I think our staff did a nice job, and I think our guys did a great job responding with the right mindset, with the right attitude, brought some great energy. Probably one of the nice things about having a Sunday where we get together is, we get to move on. Outside of the building, the game gets held on for not a day, probably not a week. For some people, you hold on to it for the rest of your life.
I'll have more in a moment.
Producing championship quality lumber is not an easy process, but at Everwood Preserving, it's our only process. Wood treated right. Everwood offers top-notch pressure-treated wood for decks, outdoor structures, commercial jobs, and more that you can build your reputation on. When it comes to quality, we're on the winning team. Visit your local Everwood dealer today and discover the difference for yourself. Everwood Preserving Incorporated, the official lumber of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Join us this afternoon for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, streaming live at 2 p.m. Central on all CTSN social media platforms. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by Everwood. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Two-time state champion and two-time NIT champion, Barry Sanderson breaks down the latest in sports on Inside the Locker Room on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. We'll get right up to the Yellowwood Hotline. We'll go to Birmingham and get Tony. And good morning, Tony.
Good morning, guys. I enjoyed hearing y'all's show this morning. But I got to tell you, the point going back to the whole Coach Anderson's right, y'all. This team, in my opinion, through 5 games, does like discipline. When you trash talk and you getting driven underneath the field the whole entire game, and you have your 5th-year senior double-time captain doing the things. Guys, listen, if he thought something was going to happen to him, the fact that he told the coaches he wasn't coming off the field, he would have never done it.
True.
To me, that's a lack of discipline. I would just as soon go do jumping jacks and I-20. That would cross my mind before I would tell a coach of mine that I ain't getting off the field. It would be the same principle, and it doesn't make any sense. So, again, it does lack discipline. When you're coached to do certain things, and when you don't do those things, the coach's job, fellas, y'all know this, your job is to put players in positions to win a game. There's a saying, coaches keep it close, players win the game. And again, this is the same guy who got beat going deep because he got caught peeking in the backfield on a 4th and 1. He's not even responsible for the run. He's not responsible for defending the run. You don't get beat deep, and he did for a touchdown. That's another a point in the game that was a difference in the ball game. Why didn't he get pissed off then? So there's a lot of things. But yeah, guys, when you run for a 3-yard first down and you get up and you signal first down like you've done something, that's your job. Why do you have to celebrate it? And they have choreographed dances when they score. That means they've worked on choreographing a dance. Why don't you work on other things? It is. I'm old school, guys. When I scored touchdowns, I gave the ball back to the Fisher and put it on the 3-yard line because I knew he was going to kick an extra point because that was my job. That's what I was out there to do. And if I didn't do it, then, you know, I certainly didn't celebrate when I did it. And so it's just, I don't mind being excited to make a play. I don't mind that. I don't mind, you know, celebrating with your team. But there's a time and a place for it. Go to the sidelines and celebrate. Because then you're around your entire team.
Well, you would think when you're getting beat that bad, your mindset should not even be wanting to celebrate. You should be so mad that you're so when you score, you would seem like you would throw the ball to the official and sprint back to the sideline because you're so disappointed and not just mad as to how you're playing there. You know, I hear people now. This is so stupid. Say this offense is scoring too fast. What? If you can score in the first play, score. Are you kidding me? That's the objective, is to score. The defense has got to stop them on third down. If you stop them on third down, you're going to get the ball more. If you can, they're not sustaining drives. They're putting the defense at a disadvantage. What? They're scoring. If you can score, score. I don't understand that thinking, Tony.
Well, gentlemen, y'all coming from the coaching world, if you have, let's say, for instance, y'all have a dominant shooting guard or even a dominant 5 position, and in your mind, he has bailed y'all out so many times, the team is going to see that. They're going to say, hey, we don't have to play as hard as we can because all we got to do is give it to our center, and he's going to bail us out. To me, when Tua played at Alabama, I think that's the kind of the mindset the defense had those years. Hey, it don't matter. We don't have to stop them. This offense is so dynamic. They're going to go down the field and score. You get relaxed, and you know that there's going to be other times that the team's going to bail you out. I think that to a lesser extent, that's some of the problems on this defense. I think they think, well, we know that Jalen Milroe and all these guys are scoring at a pretty high clip, that they can bail us out. But guys, I'm going to tell y'all now, after watching that game again, there's a lack of effort. It's not just that we're in the wrong positions. When you have a running back run through an All-American linebacker and drag him 3 yards in the end zone, that's effort, fellas. That is a lack of effort. Tackling comes down to one thing or two things. You have to have a little bit of technique, but 90% of it is effort. If you want to be a good tackler, you're going to be a good tackler. And I don't see that right now. And Coach, I have to agree with y'all. I believe there's a lack of discipline on this football team. I do. And it starts, fellas, I hate to say it, but it starts from the top. How in the world can you tell a coach coming out on the field that you're not coming off the field, and then the next day in the press they're praising him? Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No.
That.
And it's just, I don't get that, man.
I get phone somebody knows start, but I agree. I think what he's said there is.
Tony, do you guys see? And we're not at practice, so I don't know. But I think everything there is to try to make that they do is to make the players comfortable. We got music, we got all these things, and that's fine. But sometimes you got to make them uncomfortable, and make them do things that are very difficult that they don't want to do, and push them places where. And I don't know that this is or it is not happening. I don't see it. I don't hear it when they talk about this team. Do you agree, Tony?
I agree, and something you just said, Coach, and this may strike a chord with a lot of people listening. If so, I don't care. A coach's job on that field is not to be those players as friends. You're not their friend. You're their coach, and they're to look up to you and respect you. And that respect has to be earned from the player, and you, in turn, they have to earn your respect. Guys, when I started coaching, I was 22, 21 years old, and I was coaching kids that were 17. A couple of times, I let my guard down. A couple of mama jokes came out, or your old lady jokes. And I had to call one of them because they ain't my friend. Just like my son is not my friend. He is my son. And it's the same principle that you go when you coach a football team. You can't be joking around, hotty, ha, this, that, and the other thing, giving them ice cream and stuff. That's cool if you want to do that. But you cannot let them get a total comfort zone where they don't fear you. You have to fear a coach that you're playing for. Because if you don't, why do you care if you fail? Yeah. I was, guys, man, I was fearful to even ask questions sometimes, and that's probably not the right road to go down. I don't want any player of mine to fear asking me a question about what they do. But I felt that if I asked my head coach a question, he would call me so bad because he knew that I should have already known the answer to it, and 9 times out of 10 I should have. But I'm just saying to me, there's a lack of respect on that team, and there's a lack of discipline. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get that back. But again, guys, that one play when he wouldn't get off that field, I don't give a crap if he's full of Alabama or not. You don't do that. Because if you do that, what message does that send to all these other players? And especially if nothing happens to him.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening behind, but I wouldn't be praising him. Now, can he learn from it? Yeah, I'm not going to bury him for the rest of the year, but but yeah, you can't put your coaches, and I think maybe, but I want to hear him say it. I don't want to read some statement.
I agree. We all know somebody wrote that thing for Jaheim Otis. We know that.
Well, I'm talking about Malachi Moore.
I know the same thing. It's the same principle, though. If he issued an apology and it's written, then yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you, Tony.
Well, guys, y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Good call. All right, Dale, let's take something about Bryant Bank. We'll get to break.
Locations in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa are terrific. If you're looking for a great bank, then go by Bryant Bank and visit with them and visit with a new banker. Not new, but some may be new there, and the people that work with him. And you'll find that you'll be able to have a bank where you can get your money very quickly by check or whatever you need it. Your money is safe. The people surrounding the bank are people that you enjoy being around. If you have some problems needing to borrow money or something, they'll help you there. So go by Bryant Bank. I talk about it all the time. I don't want to go too long into it, but they're going to be a bank that's going to be helpful to you. That's pretty darn important. I have been with Bryant Bank a long, long time. I like them very much. So go by and visit with them and tell them you heard them inside the locker room.
All right, we'll take the break up at the phone lines, 205-342-9904. Just a Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got some trouble on McFarland on the westbound lanes at 37th Street. Watch out for this accident. It's got traffic slow, but it is pretty steady as you try to move around that accident. And we're also looking at heavies on the northbound, or make that on the westbound lanes of 2059 inside that construction zone.
Want to earn some quick cash? Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston is stocking up on cute and cozy fall styles. We pay you on the spot for your gently used name brand clothes and accessories. Plus, while you're here, you can stock up on must-have looks for autumn. We're the go-to sustainable shopping spot for teens and young adults. So stop by Plato's Closet in West Ashley and North Charleston today and refresh your wardrobe. Plato's Closet, located in West Ashley on Sam Rittenberg Boulevard and North Charleston on Rivers Avenue.
Are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at VaxAssist.com.
So where should we go next?
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Alabama's weather will stay dry through the weekend ahead. A sunny sky today, the high 81. Clear tonight, the low 57. Tomorrow and Thursday, sunny both days, highs around 80. And Friday, another sunny day with a high at 79. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
It's 57 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Come back to inside the locker room. If anybody wants to call about what we've talked about there, maybe you see it differently. 205-342-9904. I think this game is big this weekend just to kind of see what kind of mindset they come back with. Because they got a real tough game. And, well, this game is tough as well. But then they're going to head up to Tennessee. 2:30 game, by the way. That time was announced. So, CBS screwed up. So ABC gets Alabama, Tennessee at 2:30, and then Texas and Georgia. I'm assuming it's 6:30. So all eyes will be on ABC throughout the day there. All right, let's hear Kalen Moore's press conference here. A little bit of that. Just go right there to that opening statement, Chase.
Good morning, and I know you've heard from the coordinators, and so got a few of those things that you had questions on work through, but just kind of following up on that and in the game, watching the film and all of that from Saturday. Just a lot of the same feelings I had, after the game. And I think the feelings, first of all, the team has certainly disappointed, upset, fired up, and I think, you're always looking at what the response is. And they came yesterday back, the thing you have to provide as coaches is the answers, an understanding of where we go from here. And I think our staff did a nice job, and I think our guys did a great job responding with the right mindset, with the right attitude, brought some great energy. Probably one of the nice things about having a Sunday where we get together is, we get to move on, outside of the building. The game gets held on to for not a day, probably not a week. For some people, you hold on to it for the rest of your life. But for these guys, they don't get the choice. And we as a staff and them together have to move on. And we've done that after yesterday, understanding where we got to get better. We know we're a work in progress, not a finished product by any means. And that showed up on Saturday. But the key is that we continue to improve. And that's one of our core values, is to have a relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. The guys show that they want to do that, and sticking together and owning it in every way. And that's staff to every player on the football team. So proud of that part. And there's each side of the ball, all phases of the game, where we can continue to just keep building. We have a great football team. I'm convinced of that. I have no doubt of that. I believe in these guys. I believe in them more when I see the resiliency that they have, whether it's during the games that we've played, not just this last game, but different games. The way that they prepared that leads to the passion that comes out on the football field, and that resiliency. They got fight in them. They want to win bad. They want to uphold all the traditions of Alabama football, and no one feels worse about this than all of us here in this building, the football team and our coaches. So we're looking forward to South Carolina here this next week. Coach Beamer, continue to build on the program there, doing some really nice things. Physical football team, and they're coming off of a tough game as well with Ole Miss there, and things not going their way. So we know it's going to be another fight here in the world of the SEC. Questions?
All right, just your thoughts on the opening statement there. Well,
you do it based on your own personality. It wouldn't have been mine, but when your personality is you feel like the positivity. We know we made mistakes. Our team is going to be ready. That's fine. Are they really? If they trash talk, they're not. The information to the public is what he tried to do, was give the public who he felt were down about the loss, which they were, that they're going to fight back and still have a great team, those kinds of things. I certainly would have been somewhat positive about we've got a good team and we're going to keep going. But I don't know that I would have maybe worded it like that. But
yeah, he said that we're a great team.
Yeah.
I just don't. I know Tom took exception to me, but I hadn't seen a great team. And then I think when you say, and of course this is me now, he does this way, we're going to move forward. I know everybody, I ain't moving. I'm going to take what happened in that game, and we're not going to worry about South Carolina the first couple practices, because there's some things that we got to get fixed before we could even worry about those. So I don't know that I'm going to just turn the page on that game and act like it didn't happen. I don't know that he said that exactly, but he's talking about fans hold on to it for a long time. But sometimes you have to remember how you felt, and that gets you ready to play the next game. Do you agree? Just kind of.
I do. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. You know how I am. I just think defensively, you look at the quarterback, not in the games this year, but in the way he has always played, and you get yourself ready to play him. And I don't know, maybe they ran some cute plays and blocked Alabama at times. I don't think Alabama was ready to play defensively, mentally, but I wasn't there and don't know that.
Yeah. All right, Chase, let's just go to the next clip, then we'll take a break. The second clip, comments on the lack of discipline and focus from this team during the game and so far this season.
I guess, is there more on the lack of discipline part? What was it referring to?
I him, in moments where discipline wasn't good, what contributed to that?
Yeah, when you come out on the short end, everything gets amplified, right? You look into everything on another level. And so in regards to that, since that was the question, you can point to every little thing that happened and it being a lack of focus or discipline and having to do it better. And I think what it really comes down to is doing it better over and over. And when we gave ourselves little room for error with the way the game started, right? They go down and put a nice drive together, and then, we have the ball bounce off the helmet, goes for an interception for a touchdown. And so we leave ourselves very little room for error, knowing that the plan that they already had in place, because it showed up on film in weeks prior to playing us, is that they will play ball control offense. They'll let the clock run down, shorten the game. They get a lead even more so. And then, that the whole taking them out of their game is going to be harder to do because, we're playing from behind. So, offensively, we had to kind of probably lose some of the balance that we thought we could have offensively with a run pass. We had to speed up the game, try to add more possessions. We still only got 9 in the game, and that's having sped up the game. That's getting drives at the end of each half where we're trying to move.
All right, we can't hear that whole clip there. I don't really understand that. In the first quarter, you got to all of a sudden abandon your game plan because they're going to play ball control. They can't play ball control. You stop them on third down. They can hold it for 3 downs, but they can't, so I don't know. We have to play different offense because we got down 13-0. It wasn't like it was the fourth quarter. It's the first quarter. So I don't know that you have to abandon your game plan at that point. I don't know, Dad. Do you see it differently?
No, I don't either. I don't think you abandon your game plan. You just try to straighten things out, especially with your defensive coordinator on the field there, telling them, talking to them. I agree.
Yeah. All right. We'll take this last break and wrap up the show. You listen to Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Boy, it is going to be wild again. Bama fans are still in shock following the Tide's stunning loss at Vanderbilt. We're trying to move ahead to South Carolina, but it's been difficult. Drudy Armand, the Rocket Man, will join us to talk some ball. Also, Kayla Anderson with the Tennessee Titans report. Your phone calls and more. That's Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 Traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Got some trouble on McFarland on the westbound lanes at 37th Street. Watch out for this accident. It's got traffic slow, but it is pretty steady as you try to move around that accident. And we're also looking at heavies on the northbound, or make that on the westbound lanes of 2059 inside that construction zone on the north.
The Humana Honor Medicare Advantage Plan gives you $1,680 back each year in your Social Security check. Choose coverage that helps you keep more money in your pocket. Learn more at GetHumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. The Part B Give Back benefit pays part or all of your Part B premium, and the amount may change based on the amount you pay for Part B. Limitations and restrictions may apply. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Pros. Valid in-store only. More terms and restrictions apply. Visit Lowe's.com/terms or Pro Desk for details.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
All right, that will do it for today's show. We'll get out of here. We'll make way for the Gary Harris Show. We got a ton of app messages today. We can look at some of those tomorrow. But we appreciate you guys tuning in and all the messages that come in. I also appreciate Kevin Skarbinski, who joined us in the first hour. Thank you, Chase. Appreciate everything that you do. The Gary Harris Show is next, so keep it locked in. You listen to Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.
Freedom and flexibility. That's what you want in a healthcare plan. And with Humana's Medicare Advantage PPO plans, you can see any doctor in the country who accepts Medicare, including specialists, with no referrals needed. Plus, you can go in and out of network for the same copay for doctor's visits. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.